movie theaters have officially, finally opened here in Ontario. It has been almost a year since I've been. And what cinematic masterwork did I choose to bring me back, to kick it off? Space Jam 2, let's go! Why? I don't know, don't ask. Space Jam: A New Legacy, directed by Malcolm D. Lee, is the sequel to the 1996 original Space Jam, and is about LeBron James and his son Dom getting trapped in digital space by a rogue AI. To get home safely, LeBron teams up with the Looney Tunes gang for a high-stakes basketball game against the AI's digitized champions of the court, a powered-up roster called the Goon Squad. Okay, so like I mentioned, theaters are finally open in Ontario. It has been so long. It's been like almost a year since I've seen the movie in the theater. Oh, I miss it so much. So I got tickets for the newest movie I could, obviously, which this weekend just so happened to be Space Jam 2. So last night I brought my little sister, and her and I went and we saw this movie. Such a great experience being back at the theaters again. I forgot how much I missed it, but what did I think of the movie? So I was actually looking forward to this movie, mainly because, like other people, I have nostalgia for the original. I watched it when I was a kid a bunch, and I have fond memories of it. Also, the idea that they were going to include a whole bunch of Warner Brothers IP in here and be super meta intrigued me. I was curious what it was going to be like. I thought that if it was done right, it could be really clever and a lot of fun. But the problem is, it wasn't done right. Space Jam 2 is, well, it ain't great. I mean, what did I expect going into a Space Jam movie starring LeBron James? I mean, like, I kind of expected more. I don't know. The first film is definitely a mess. I rewatched it recently, and it's not a good film by any means. But it's still, like, so charming and fun. It just has something about it that's just still super fun to watch. This movie just failed to capture that same element that made the original work, and it kind of just ends up being heartless and kind of dull. Obviously, this movie is not targeted towards me, it's targeted towards kids, but I think there was a lot more potential, and I think it could have been a lot better. Some things I want to get out of the way right away is that, I mean, the plot, the script, the performances, sorry LeBron James, yeah, they're all pretty bad. LeBron does what he can. I mean, like, he's not like laughably bad, but like, yeah, no, he doesn't really pull it off. It's also like pretty ugly to look at. Like, the visual style of the movie ain't great. It has like a really glossy and perfected look, and it's like the most studio 2021 looking movie ever. The big thing this movie was relying on was that Warner Brothers IP though. It has so much of those meta references in here. And you know what? I actually did have some fun with the Warner Brothers references throughout. There's one sequence in particular where they have a whole bunch of references in a row. You probably know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. And it was fun. I enjoyed the clever ways that they inserted characters into their own movies, and the fun ways that they incorporated them into the story. I enjoyed that part. I got a kick out of it. Also, side note, a lot of the references are kind of aimed towards adults, like the IP they use in some of those sequences, which is kind of weird. I'm like, what's your target audience? Like, who are you going for? Like, in some ways it's very childish, but then also has these older references. I don't know. Kind of doesn't balance that quite well. And also seeing a bunch of the characters like watch the basketball game. You've seen the trailers, you know, the whole basketball stadium is crowded with all these characters. Was pretty fun too. A lot of the basketball game just ended up being, oh look, hey, it's Batman. Oh look, it's the witch from the Wizard of Oz. It's just Pennywise. It's a lot of just, oh look who it is. Even though they, for one, they kind of look like knockoffs of the actual characters. And two, it also, like I was saying, since I was just pointing them out a lot, it ended up being kind of distracting. It took away from the actual game. But that's a little nitpick. It was still kind of fun to see them there. But the thing about this movie is, even though a lot of those references are fun, all of the forced IP placement just left the film feeling, like I was saying, kind of heartless and dull and commercially made and a big advertisement. Like I was saying, having gone back and watched the original Space Jam recently, it's not a great movie, but there is a heart to it. There's something about it that's so charming and lovable. And this movie just lacks that. It's also way too long. It's closer to 2 hours than it is to an hour and a half, and that's a mistake. Basketball game goes on for way too long. Side note, little nitpick about the basketball game. They kind of got like, the way that they did this basketball game with doing it as like a video game with extra style points and stuff, it's not really a spoiler. It takes away a lot of the stakes. I mean, like, I'm not saying there was like high intensity stakes in the original Space Jam, but there's no stakes in this basketball game. There's no, what's gonna happen? There's no intrigue there. It's, anything can happen because you can get 1,000,000 points at once. I don't know, that's a little nitpick, but so yeah, by the end of the basketball game, I won't lie, kind of boring. It got to a point where it had gone on for way too long, and I was ready for it to end. The writing here also is weak. It is weak. Aside from a couple really solid jokes, there was one joke in particular that made me laugh out loud. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There was one joke that was actually really clever, and I really liked it. But aside from that, I didn't really care for the humor overall. I don't know. It just felt off throughout. So overall, even though that sounded like really negative, like, I enjoyed watching the movie. It was fun. Maybe it's because it was back in the theaters for the first time, I don't know. But the overlong runtime, the oversaturation of IP, the weak script, it all kind of left me disappointed by the end. And with that, I'm going to be giving Space Jam 2 a light 2.5 out of 5. So those are my thoughts on Space Jam 2. Let me know what you thought if you got a chance to watch it. What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it in between? Are you a fan of the original Space Jam? Let me know all of your thoughts. Also, follow me over on Letterboxd if you want to see my thoughts on all the movies I watch, really. I review every movie I watch, and you can see my thoughts of movies such as Space Jam 2 before I ever talk about them over here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.